service. And at the end of the day, like I say, the big deal was made of this on the net about this this takedown notice and this Kindle book or whatever e-book it was. And if you're using a service for somebody, yeah, you play it by their rules, was my view of it. If I join WordPress and I've got a blog, I've got to abide by their rules like I would if I go into somebody's house. So there's not really scope for an argument. If people disagree and have different views, then they get another hosting option, which was just my view. And it was just really sort of a quick mention of that, because like I say, I've been a very happy user of WordPress for 2 years, and they've served very well.
And it's as well, because definitions of you have things like consumers and vendors and you have those different roles of people, and you can use different names for even a product / service / package or application. You have all these different names being used, but some of them are used for PR purposes, but you don't think about it. I can give you all sorts of examples, even things like when you talk about politics, people trying to describe a war as conflict, or to describe an escalation or something like, instability in the region, or all kinds of descriptions that are supposed to give you an improved vision of something or a worse picture of something. So you say regime instead of a government, it sounds worse. It sounds like, oh, it's a regime, obviously. It's worse. And in this case, when you talk about user, and I just want to be quite pedantic about it, I think when we talk about even users, it kind of empowers them. It kind of says that they are using something, or they are in control. It's not as passive. When you talk about something like user-generated content, that's a very insulting, derogatory description of what people do, because you say, well, they basically generate content. They don't do anything artistic. They just generate it, and what they do is they don't produce any art. They just produce content. And what they are is just like being used, or they just use some system, and they aren't actually individuals. So all these words that you're using, I think that's an interesting thing to note when you compare how different companies treat their products. Last week we talked about how Microsoft tries to describe software as a technology, and to say, well, you have to buy the software from us, and and this is our idea, and they call it a technology, so that you don't know that it's software. Well, software you can reproduce. If I buy a piece of NVIDIA thing, and then maybe I really like the technology, but I cannot give you a copy of that, because it's my car, it's the technology of this company, and they produce this technology. But if I buy this supposed technology called Vista, or this technology called Office, I cannot make you a copy, obviously, because Microsoft is going to say that's illegal to do, because we have some words in a page that say, well, you should not do that. But we have to make these distinctions. It's been used by the patent lobbyists trying to describe something as an invention or as an innovation, and as protecting the innovator. Well, what they mean is basically protecting his monopoly or protecting his bank account. They don't actually mean protect the innovation or promoting science. What they use words like defend and protect and security of a company in a way that's making something aggressive and very authoritative sound like something very passive, and something that they do because they try to defend someone. I think I'm moving off topic too far. So
I'll just end on something like that, and I think that's the interesting thing about mine and your view, because obviously I come from a very different sort of angle. I was a consumer, if you like, and I was bombarded with the type of PR and advertising. So now, obviously, when I moved into the free and open source world, my viewpoint and my wordage that I use is very much as somebody who has been exposed to a lot of this consumerism. And so 4 or 5 years ago, I would buy everything I read. If I saw Microsoft or Apple or anybody telling me that their piece of software was the greatest thing ever, I would be buying into that. And obviously it was through free and open source software and speaking to people who've been using free and open source software for years that got me understanding that was a little bit more to computing life. So I think that's where our sort of views and where my use of words is different to yours and to other people's as well.
Only a few hours ago I met a person whom I know, and I basically I had a bit of a moment, basically waiting for someone else, and I had a chance to try to explain to this person the choice of an operating system and what KDE Desktop can offer this person. And after this conversation, I think about 10 minutes, he was very excited about I was trying to be very positive, not trying to make fun of Windows, but trying to explain what the merits of moving to KDE and all the features, virtual desktops and Clipper, and you can do copy and pasting better. And afterwards, he basically agreed. He wanted me to have Fedora installed for him tomorrow, which I will do, so I have to do a short trip and install it. But the important thing here is that this person didn't really know about the choice he had before. And at some point during the conversations towards the end, I had him realize that he wasn't aware that he did have choice and that his choice was valid. It's not like, well, Linux is not, ready for the desktop. It is ready for the desktop. It's running on my desktop. And you give these people some figures about how many people use that on phones and on everything as well as desktop. And you show them a demo of you working with this thing, and they think, wow, this person is working more efficiently than I do, and they want to use that too. And you say, oh, and it's free, you don't have to pay for it. And they say, oh, that's great, you can install it on a second partition. And lots of them, all you have to do with them is to explain to them they have this option, they have nothing to lose. And then they obviously want that, and I install it for lots of people, and they're pretty happy with that. Microsoft wants to ensure two things. They want to ensure people don't know about GNU/Linux, or if they do know about it, they'll think, oh, it's just for servers, it's all command line. And some people will spread these myths on the internet and make sure people think that. The second thing is they want to ensure people cannot buy a computer with it. So they have to go through the trouble of trying to download an it's not hard to install Linux, but you have to know how to burn CD, which Windows is not going to let you burn in the proper sense. So any person who's tried to burn a Linux CD on Windows will know that Windows, the default burner, is not going to be very ISO friendly. It wants to do a data CD or something, and it's trying to confuse you and to make it hard for you. Then you have the thing with the bootloader. Basically, Windows does not want to recognize that any other operating system exists. And even the person we spoke to today, he without me telling him, he says, oh, it doesn't ask me if I have Linux. Oh, they must be doing this on purpose. And yes, of course. And they probably say it's too complex, but it should be simple. I say, yes, and that's exactly what they do. They say, we cannot do that, or we haven't implemented that because it's too hard a problem. Well, it's not too hard a problem. It's too hard for you financially, and you have an obligation to shareholders. That's why they don't do that. And this gets the people even more curious about Linux because they realize that somebody's trying to take away choice from them. And I think that also helps. If you try to explain to people and to show them, look, you haven't used this, and you haven't seen it on a friend's PC, not because it's bad, but because there is some kind of distortion of the market. And then they realize, okay, so we need to try and do something about distortion. People tend to want to be venturous and try to, if they can install something they like, and they'll also have a justification or an excuse or a reinforcer to tell them, well, I'm doing something that's ethically correct too. That's an extra. That's a bonus.
Right, we'll move on to my final topic anyway, and this is just a very brief one. I don't expect there's going to be much debate with this. And it's a date's been set for the disciplinary tribunal for Davenport and Lyons. For people who haven't been following the story that closely, Davenport and Lyons were one of the solicitors from the law firms from the UK who've been were following the file sharers or alleged file sharers, copyright infringers, and sending warning notices. Now, they were one of the companies, along with ACS Law, who received a lot of complaints, and these complaints have been taken up by the SRA Disciplinary Tribunal, and it's going to be heard in May 2011. No date yet as to when Andrew Crosley of ACS Law is going to be speaking to them, if he's going to be going there at all. But that piece of news was on slick.com, and that I've just seen that today. I don't know if you have anything you want to add. The allegation against the law firms is excessive bullying tactics in efforts to recoup some money from a copyright infringement, allegations of copyright infringement. I haven't personally seen the letters involved, so I couldn't pass a comment, but those were the complaints made, and the disciplinary tribunal will be heard in May 2011. I don't know if you had any feedback on your site or any sort of Anything you want to add to that before I skip on?
You know, I kind of tend to think the show is a bit less about copyrights and enforcement, but there could actually be a disagreement here. I think you're more